Hey, it's Denise from Soul Savvy, and I'm bringing you to my favorite place in the woods for the first Soul Savvy Themes and Tools forecast, and this is for July 2020. So, the first theme for July is courage. Courage used to be associated with battles and perhaps fierce defense, but see what comes to mind when I say courage. The old way might have been shields and spears, but there's a new way that we can invite in. And this has to do with a more feminine side of courage, a type of gentle insistence. There's a strength there, there's a daring. So you're leaning in, you're stepping in to certain areas. For example, if you need to have a conversation, you can do that with courage, with clarity and kindness. If there's a way you need to look at your life now, which is being invited, COVID shook everything up, and now it's time to look at what's going on, rise from the ashes, maybe make a new plan if things came clearer. So that's another form of courage, is being willing to lean in and look at the truth, the deeper levels. Our first responses as humans are to tend to want the comfortable and the similar or the same. But as we wake up, we start to lean in and get proactive. So that would be one of the ways to use courage this month, is to take a real look at your life to see what's working, especially around your truth, your purpose. Are you doing what you came to do? That's sort of what this little corridor has revealed. The curtains are opened, and it's time to look within. So there's a lot of different themes you can apply it to, and again, it doesn't have to be this huge shift or change. A small step going in that direction reverses the inertia, and usually we know what that might mean. What's a next step? We can't see necessarily too far beyond that, but there's a next step we can do, even if it's just decluttering the closet. So courage is the first theme, and let me just give you an example of that, kind of looking at your life overview. And this was a man, his name is Tom Rath, R-A-T-H. He's an author. He's a brilliant guy behind Strength Finders 2.0, which is now called something else. But he had his own personal health drama going on since he was in high school, where they found cancer, they treated it, but they told him, you have no tumor suppressor genes, so you're probably going to see cancer again. He is now 40 with a wife and 2 kids. But part of what he did at that time or soon after was investigate any kind of lifestyle, research, anything that might be helpful for him. And then when he was older in his 40s, he realized, like a lot of his friends, were getting sick for reasons that were preventable. So in looking at his life, now this is a man who knew about stress management, etc., right? But what he realized was he needed to get that information into a book. And he had written books, so he knew it was the book form he had to step up to. So even though here's a guy that knows about taking care of himself and the importance of relationships and all the important pieces of life, there was something missing in his life when he stood back and looked at it. And then he had the courage to ask for a sabbatical from work, and he wrote this book called Eat, Move, Sleep. So I'll put some resources underneath for you to check that out, because there's a new film based on it now. And at any rate, that's a story about courage. I find that so inspiring. On to the second theme of the month, which is self-care. This is also getting an update, just like courage. There's an old way that maybe used to work, Used to be ways to soothe yourself or take care of yourself or nurture yourself. Some of those now aren't working as well. So again, it's a time to look at what might be new ways, what might be new experiments to try. How can you get that into your life consistently? So many of us push, 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 and then crash. So how can that be more balanced and smooth? There's a way that the new form of self-care honors your courage. So it goes hand in hand with taking those steps, and it's a way of honoring the truth of you, the true work you came to do. So that's the theme, the other theme of July. And a lot of the wisdom from this field comes from this idea that consistency is more important than length of time you do this. So doing it daily versus doing it hours and hours. In the old research from the 70s out of Harvard, when they were looking at stress management, the studies were set up for people to do 2 20-minute sessions, morning and evening. And those benefits of that, a lot of physical benefits, lowered heart rate, lowered blood pressure, strengthened immune systems, etc., those stayed with people beyond the study. So this is a lifelong practice and gives you lifelong benefits. So we have courage and its sister self-care to hold you through the month of July 2020. One tool I would offer here is what I call the movement bridge. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it because I had originally intended to do this video on the phone, but perhaps due to Mercury retrograde, I'm sorry, not on the phone, but on the computer, that didn't work. So let's see if I can do it sitting. I intended to give you the full-blown movement thing because part of my background includes somatic psychotherapy or body-based psychotherapy. And whenever we can kind of switch out of our brains and our thinking, and that's often a lot of times where fears and doubts can build, and can sort of torture us from. But when we switch to the nonverbal realm, it's more creative, more right brain. We can touch into a deeper wisdom often. So here's what I call the movement bridge as the tool for July 2020. So basically it's moving the opposites. So let's, for example, take courage. And we're going to start with discouragement or fear. So take that energy, that emotion, and put a movement to it. So I'm going to take discouragement, and instantly my head goes down, my chest collapses. And then what I'd suggest is we move this for a few seconds, few minutes, make sounds. Hopelessness. And if you just did it with your hands. Okay, so you find a position where the movement leaves you, or a type of stance that you get to through a little movement exploration of that. All right, so it's something like this. All right, then we move the opposite. So what if there was courage? Oh, instantly I feel this wanting to open and this strength through my arms, and there's a tingling sensation through my whole body. I need to breathe more. Okay, so that's the other side of this continuum. And then what the movement bridge is how do I get from here to here, right? And just do it. Don't think about it, but just let your body find its way. So here's this. And then Okay, my body wants to twist and turn and like roll, which I can't necessarily do here, but it wants to move in a very rolly, I'm not sure what the adjectives here because this is right brain going on, but basically it's often a type of way that you would transition. So there's some way that this wants me to roll around, go down, and come up. Okay. And then you ask yourself, when you get the movement bridge movement, does this give you any clues for how you can work with this in your life? So again, we're going from nonverbal to verbal. Might take a little time. You might have to sit with it for a day before something comes from this. But the thing I would get from this is dive in. Dive into it. Dive into the fear. Let myself feel that. Be playful with it. Roll with it. Roll with it. Sorry. See how that happened? Okay. So that's the tool for the month is the movement bridge. Thanks for joining me. This is Denise Barnes of soulsavvy.net. You can find me on Instagram at soulsavvyco for Colorado, and that's SAV as in Victor, VY, Soul Savvy. Soulsavvy.net, and Instagram is at soulsavvyco, and Facebook is Soul Savvy. You have a wonderful month. See you next month.